Welcome to That Sci-Fi Show. My name is Jay. Today we talk Star Trek Deep Space Nine right after the bump. Father's Day was yesterday, so we started giving some thought to some great dads from popular culture, especially science fiction. Star Trek is a great source for this. The excellent channel Trekspertise already made a compelling case for Jean-Luc Picard as a kind of father figure. But we wanted to talk about another great dad from the same franchise, perhaps the best dad in all of outer space, Captain Benjamin Sisko from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Right from the start, Sisko's position in the Star Trek franchise is unique. A commander who lost his wife Jennifer in the Battle of Wolf 359, Sisko is forced to raise his teenage son Jake alone in his new post at Deep Space Nine, a dangerous space station on the frontier of Federation space. In the show, not only does Sisko have to deal with the pressure of command and the various alien attacks and replicator space viruses he encounters week to week, he has the more personal task of raising an adolescent boy all by himself. This set both DS9 and Sisko as a character apart in the Star Trek universe. Rather than treating the ship's captain as a dashing young hero like Kirk or a diplomatic intellectual like Picard, this show's lead was a deeply relatable human character with real adult problems and a detailed personal life that was allowed to grow as the show went on, particularly in his role as Jake's father. In the early seasons, when Jake was a teen, subplots featuring the two dealt with the typical tensions of raising a teenage boy. Sisko worried that he was hanging out with the wrong crowd in his budding relationship with Nog, for instance, or his crush on an older Dabo girl from Quarks. However, the show avoids the cheap drama of Jake pushing himself away from his dad at all turns. Sisko is patient, helpful, and listens to his son. The two are still stinging from the loss of Jake's mother, and so they cling to each other for emotional support. Sisko and Jake found numerous ways to bond throughout the course of the show. They were huge fans of baseball, which apparently had died out by the 24th century. Speaking of which, what do future dads use to play catch with their sons if, no one plays baseball? Is it tribbles? Do they play catch with tribbles? It's tribbles. Sisko loved passing the cooking traditions of his father down to Jake whenever he could as well. In the Season 3 episode Explorers, the two bond even further when testing an old Bajoran solar sailor that they built together. As the seasons went on and Jake discovered that he didn't want to go into Starfleet like his father but become a writer, Sisko came around to the idea and supported his son without judgment. Sure, the post-scarcity world of the 24th century removes the whole argument of how will you put food on the table, but Sisko's maturity in accepting that his son doesn't want to join the family business, so to speak, is still refreshing. As a young adult, Jake returns his father's love by setting him up with Freighter Captain Cassidy Yates. What other son in science fiction would be his own father's wingman? Sisko's good parenting pays off as Jake grows up through the series, their positive, nurturing relationship instilling in Jake good values that he showcases as a character. One could argue that, without Jake's friendship and patience, virtues he learned from his father, his best friend Nog would never have broken free of his own stifling family structure and joined Starfleet. During the Dominion War, he becomes a journalist, writing news stories and reporting on the brief occupation of DS9 by the Dominion. Sure, Jake makes mistakes along the way, but he learns from his mistakes and he grows, and it's hard to argue that he would be able to do that without the values that his father instilled in him. Which brings us to the centerpiece of Sisko and Jake's father-son relationship, and one of the greatest episodes of Star Trek ever put to film, the 4th season episode, The Visitor. Telling the story of an alternate timeline where Sisko mysteriously disappears, The Visitor shows Jake giving up his dreams and family to find a way to bring his father home. Even while trapped in time, Sisko is full of sound parenting advice after learning that his own son gave up his dreams to search for him. Quote, "I'm no writer, but if I were, it seems to me I'd want to poke my head up every once in a while and take a look around, see what's going on. It's life, Jake. You can miss it if you don't open your eyes." End quote. The Visitor is a great showcase for the kind of emotional storytelling Star Trek is capable of, and I challenge anyone to watch it without getting a little misty-eyed. Benjamin Sisko is a great dad by any measure, but his relationship with Jake is even more remarkable, given the relative lack of positive portrayals of African American fatherhood in television and pop culture. In a cultural landscape that often stereotypes men of color as being irresponsible absentee fathers, Avery Brooks made a concerted effort with Sisko to challenge those preconceptions. As Brooks himself said in one interview, "It's something that we have to see more often, the relationship of a brown man and his son, because historically, that's not how it began in this country for brown families who didn't have the freedom of their own will and volition, let alone the ability to hold their families together." End quote. It's also said that when Sherlock Lofton, the actor who played Jake, wanted to leave the show a few seasons in to start a music career, Brooks urged him to stay. In Brooks' mind, it was far more important to show a positive depiction of black fathers and sons in a positive, nurturing relationship on television. Brooks even convinced the writers to reword the ending of the series, in which Sisko leaves to join the Prophets in another plane of existence, to avoid the perception that Sisko was yet another black father abandoning his children. With that in mind, it's a good thing Brooks pushed for these changes. Even outside of this specific context, Benjamin Sisko easily wins the title of Best Space Dad. Sensitive and nurturing, mature but assertive, Sisko showed TV audiences in the 1990s that fathers didn't have to be the same lazy, useless schlubs you saw on network sitcoms, or abusive villains who are the source of the main character's hidden trauma. Sisko treats Jake like a teammate, colleague, protege, and friend throughout the 7 years that Deep Space Nine was on the air, making their story one of the greatest father-son relationships ever put to television. So what do you guys think? Does Sisko rank as the #1 space dad? Who do you think was the greatest father on television? Am I the greatest dad on YouTube? Yeah, I am. So that's all we have for today, guys. As you know, we just can't seem to do anything less than a 2-part series. So next time, we will talk about the new Star Trek show coming to CBS All Access. And we'll also talk about what the hell CBS All Access is. Until next time, I'm Jay Parks.